The Sweet Sound of Success show is brought to you by the Mentor Studio. The Mentor Studio is an exclusive mentoring and training program for social influencers, business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches, and startups, bringing personal development to the underserved around the world. And brought to you by Success Strategists. Simple strategies that work to develop your business with flow and ease using proven strategies and the right tactics. This is the Sweet Sound of Success with Sue Wilhite, Profit Attraction Master. Nicole Borghi, also known as Sabotage Smasher, is the host of a 360 Wisdom Speaks podcast. She is a soulful coach using her psychic empath ability to look into the shadow self and inner child to understand the hidden issues. She empowers her clients to possess a meaningful relationship with true self, others, nature, and the spirit world. She is a speaker on spiritual education who conducts tantalizing talks on transformation. Welcome, Nicole.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Oh my goodness. This is another one of those serendipitous coincidence. We were talking before the show, and it turns out that Nicole and I sort of ran around in the same area just at different times and encountered a lot of the same sorts of spiritual paths and experiences. So this is really fun. The universe just sort of put us together now because obviously we needed to meet, right?
Of course. And you kind of get drawn to that great energy and have that, you just want to be and resonate in that energy, and it just multiplies, and it's great. It's a happy energy. It's ecstatic, and it's great to share with everybody.
Right. So for my listeners and viewers who are encountering the Sweet Sound of Success for the first time, the subtitle of the show is The Hero's Journey for the Entrepreneur's Soul. And so what we do in this conversation is we go through Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, but we're only picking out 5 of the 16 stages that he has as that cycle. And those 5 stages are going to be the ordinary beginning, because first of all, nobody is ordinary.
No.
The call to action, what prompted the entrepreneur to come and be an entrepreneur in spite of everything. The big hairy monsters that we all get to play with, whether we're entrepreneurs or not. But there's usually a special set that the entrepreneur gets to deal with. And then 2 things that I think are really important in the entrepreneur's journey, and that is allies, guides, mentors, coaches, supporters, cheerleaders. We have them, and they're so seldom acknowledged in the entrepreneur's journey. You see these successful entrepreneurs and they just show up, and you think, oh yeah, they did it all by themselves. No. They had to have somebody. Somebody was there for them. And then finally, the journey home, which is really kind of about the anti-supporters sometimes. When the entrepreneur or the hero in their journey, they're transformed by the journey. The first time you accept payment for what it is that you're doing, it changes you. It's this whole reset. Oh my God, they paid me for this. And sometimes it's like, oh, they paid me for this. It's so cool. But not everybody gets that. Not everybody gets that excitement and that joy and that jolt of energy from that. And they think we're crazy. They think we're nuts. And when are you going to get a real job? Kind of thing. So that's one of the, I'll pull that out as a big hairy monster all in of itself, but Joseph Campbell talked about it as being an important stage in the hero's journey. And how does the hero deal with the folks who haven't gone through that particular thing? So that being said, Nicole, what was your ordinary beginning?
My ordinary beginning, well, being born, and that is the most ordinary thing I think that I have ever done in my life. I started, well, I started in Silicon Valley, as we were talking about before, as in my childhood, my mom was going through metaphysical classes and challenges, or learning what her intuition and her psychic skills were, and she was developing that for the first time, which we have genealogically. It's in our family, it's in our DNA, it's there. It's nothing new, it didn't just pop out. Right. But we learned that, and she worked with Marcel Vogel, who developed that 8-sided crystal, right? And I got to meet him. That's where the journey really began. But it didn't happen until really in my 40s, when I was kind of godsmacked, and it was like, wow, okay, working with a hospice patient and saying, wow, you know what am I doing, or what am I not doing?
Right.
To say, working more or less as a death doula with the patients, and going there and offering them, storytelling, communications, just sitting by their bed, just being a companion to them, and being there for them, whether it was, working with herbs or oils, if they were able to do that, if they accepted that, using Reiki, or just being in the room. And sometimes, just like we were talking about before, that energetic connection. And as the soul is ready to depart their body, there's that acceptance and that moment of joy that they have, that they know that they're going home.
Yeah.
And they have completed this cycle, this lifetime for now.
Yeah. Wow. So what was the call to action? What was it that prompted you into being an entrepreneur?
It had to start back to healing my soul. It had to start going back to my true self, and that self-mastery, really developing the self-leadership and awakening to the awareness of who I was and who I was meant to be, and who I ignored for so long. It just kind of kept down. I call myself the Sabotage Smasher, because I successfully sabotaged myself for 20 wonderful years. And I have experience. And anybody will testify that. My family, people I know, they will testify to that experience. However, it was that experience to wake up in that journey through healing, through Reiki, and nutrition, changing my diet, and several different diseases and whatnot that I had to care for. And I was tired of that pain, and I was tired of that inflammation, and feeling the guilt of not doing, of not being, of not existing, not feeling the joy. And so having that wake up call, and as that all happened, and I was working through hospice and volunteering and going to houses and working part-time. And then I worked part-time as a personal care assistant, because I wanted to do something, right? You get that calling, and it pulls you, it pulls at your heartstrings, and you just have to do it. You got to help somebody. But it wasn't going to be done by holding a picket sign on the corner and yelling and screaming at everybody about how wrong they were and how they weren't awakened. So I thought maybe I could do it with somebody else, but it never can happen unless you do it with you. And then you realize, as you mentioned earlier, you get paid for it. Somebody wanted to pay me for that.
Right.
Hello. And they still do. It's awesome. Yes. It's just great. You do that. I worked in a brick and mortar to do that. I did some readings and some psychic events or readings one-on-one with people. But it really started again back to where I was young. We went to do houses. We went to clear homes, more like haunted houses, the days of the Ghostbusters, right? But I wasn't prepared and didn't have the tools to protect myself. So I was not safe. Of course, when you're about 7 or 8 years old, that imprints your life on being safe, on being protected, of being in that mindset. And so I was no longer safe. And it took me 40 years later. Proud to say I'm still alive at 48. I made it through all the things that I tried to do or didn't stop. I allowed to happen in my life, and I made the choice. And now I can say that I did. It was a fun adventure because I love to tell the stories, and people are like, you're so real and honest about it, which is fine because I want people to know, especially my clients, this is the journey that I took here. This is the path that I went through. You don't have to go through it. And if you did go through the depression, the stress, the teen mom, getting, being true in school, not showing up, not being there, getting kicked out, whatever. It was there.
Right.
But I wore it like a badge of honor. And it was like, not really. Where so many people are right?
Yeah.
I'm so cool. I wore it on my leather jacket with the studs and I held it high. And, rebelling against myself really was what it really was. And when you start to work with that, you start to see how that affects you financially, with prosperity, with abundance, and you're never living in your passion. Although the passion from being Irish and Italian was definitely there.
Oh, yeah. Right. There's plenty of that there. There's
and a Sagittarius. Woo! I'm on fire. but to be able to swing that pendulum, right? To feel that in the same amount of joy. And that's pretty much where it was when, I can make money at this, or I can do this at a job. People will honor that if you honor yourself.
Yes. Wow. There's a tweetable quote right there. Right? Because people do. I say it in a slightly different way, that nobody will value you as much as you value yourself.
Wow. Yeah.
Your word. Yeah. If you don't value yourself, nobody is going to give you anything, or they're going to cheapen you because you've cheapened yourself. And,
right.
If you honor yourself, there you go.
That's so true. But having grown up on the streets, I thought, I command respect. You give me respect. And there again is why people, I see, for me, my experiences, so many people experience that trigger because they don't get that triumph, because they believe that honor and respect is given. Mm-hmm. It is not, it's earned. And you have to give. And when you talk and mention about the masters and, in martial arts, you have to have your sifu, you have to have your master, you have to have your teacher, and they honor that. But I didn't know that until I was in my 30s. Right. Did I go back to that? But that means, yes, it can be done at any time, but it's not necessarily the body, it's the mind, right? And to see that mindset and to be able to kind of just find that balance as much as you can.
Right. So you had quite the team of big hairy monsters to play with.
I will say yes. The villains and the saboteurs, and they were all there, and yes.
They were big, they were hairy, and they were monsters. They showed up. Absolutely. So on the other side, who were some of your supporters and mentors and guides?
Really, the majority of my mentors came later in life. Mm-hmm. So the co-host of 360 Wisdom Speaks is Beverly Zimet, who really was able to detach and be that witnesser. right? The witnesser witnessing my life. And, the theory, that's that theory of relativity from Einstein. When you're looking at where are you, what's your experience? You're stuck in your jar if you're still looking from the experience you have instead of stepping out in discernment. So to have somebody come in and say, to be able to have that truth and to be able to freely say, okay, here's where you're at. If you want to be down this path miles and miles away, you'll have to either live several different lives or you have to kind of make some changes right now. Here's the life raft. Either you're going to come in the boat or you're not. And that's what really she had done. And there's so many other wonderful people who have been mentors to me in my life. And now I can see that and follow that path and say, oh, I like what you're doing. I'm going to hang out with you as long as you don't kick me out, right? It's different now. I'm not crashing the party.
Well, it's so important because I've talked about, and I've heard other people talk about it. There's a concept in NLP: you don't know what you don't know.
That's true.
There's something back here that you're projecting forward, but you can't see it because it's back here, and you're putting it out in your life, and you're going, why is my life not working? Well, because you're projecting this big hairy monster.
You're like a magnet for stuff. All the lint and the dirt in the room is magnetizing all the bad ozone, whatever, the tires, the old cars, everybody's leaving them on top of your land, right? So that's your temple, your body. You're allowing everybody else to do whatever they want to you or around you because you don't have that respect.
Right. Or in some way you're subtly asking for it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And, you're like, calling it in.
Right. Here, dump your load on me.
Let me get another bucket.
Right.
There's only so much though you could put in your closet, because once you open that closet and you start to peel that onion of what's going on in your life and how to clear it, it's a mess. And I couldn't shut the closet. I broke the door. It was coming out.
Yes, the old Fibber McGee show, opening the closet. It all comes out, right? Yeah. Well, it's absolutely fabulous. And I'll repeat once again, however many 40 plus episodes at this point, you've got to have somebody who can do that for you,
right? Because
we cannot do it by ourselves. It's nearly impossible. There have been a couple of folks, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad kind of come to mind. They kind of did it on their own, but I really think that they probably had some help.
Right. Oh, a lot. But when you get programmed and you get dumped in that game, when you're playing a video game and you get dumped in with all those magical powers and a trillion, million, trillion extra points, then and a shield, a sword, and then a team, right, you're good to go, right? And so you do have that support and that trust with a group of people. I never had developed that tribe, and that tribe is what you develop when you're young, right? Again, that imprint age. And so it all goes back to that, never having really fully developed that. So that hits issues in friends, relationships, which turns into, as an entrepreneur, how do you build strong, trusting relationships?
Right. How do you build your tribe?
Right. You don't. And I didn't trust anybody. So my BS meter was really high. So it was like, and being a psychic medium, you hear, I'm kind of like Sookie Stackhouse in True Blood. Right. I don't know if you've ever seen that, where she's hearing everything. And it's like, shh. Right. Your body, your mind tells me whether you want me to know or not. And it was so hard to develop that sense of, okay, if they're lying or they don't understand truly, someone that you're talking to doesn't understand those emotions empathically, or they're in a traumatic time, or they just are closed off and they don't want anybody to know what's going on, that's not up to you to tell. And that was very hard because it's very powerful.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about the journey home. How have you dealt with folks who don't accept or don't acknowledge your transformation and your having put aside or recruited the big hairy monsters?
Well, we all want that love, but I have never been one to be in being that true rebel. I never cared.
Mm.
And it's just like when you're talking to somebody about Facebook, you can't care or worry about those people you don't know. They're really not your friends. They're not even close to your frenemies. They're just people, and they're saying things, and half of it's bots. So it's like, it's not you. Don't worry. You can't care about it. The problem for me was what was taken away was that ability to care.
Right.
So it was hard to care and trust. But I never, my hair was purple. I had green hair, whatever. I had that when I was young. And so it didn't matter. I liked it. I was happy. As long as I was happy, it was good. Or I thought I was happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but to now to recognize that and be in a loving space where it's like, okay, that's your idea. That's where you're at. That's okay.
Cool. So bonus question, Nicole. If there was something that if you could wake up every single day and you have clients who say, Nicole, this is what I want to do with you, and this is what I want as an outcome. This is how I want to play. And you'd go, yes, thank you. What would that be?
That would be having them awaken their mind magic to that self-leadership, right? And to find that self-love and to get from that traumatic loss and be able-minded and stop struggling and aching in that pain. So being able to share with others to awaken to that healing sense of their own and give them the gift and share with them how to recognize the truth of the healing and the power that they have and really go through that and build that, but quickly go from fear to freedom and get out of that sabotage, but be your own hero, and really feel that transformation and share that energy with them and just to be in that moment with them, sharing all of that connection, being in that mindset, being your own power, being in that energy and utilizing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that awesome?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. To be enlightened and nourished and accepted. Yes.
More, please.
That's absolutely what I do. And I love it because I put the course together and it's like, I want to share that with people. Right. Take the course, go through the empowerment course, share that, be part of that, be part of the group, be part of the tribe. You can build your own. It's like your own sim world. You can program the game and do you.
Yes. Yes.
It's awesome. I love it.
Right? It's fabulous. It's marvelous, darling.
Yes.
Well, Nicole, thank you so much. I am so delighted that we connected here today. I'm delighted to have you and your story, which is, we laughed a lot, and I know there was some deep pain and some deep stuff that went on, but I'm here to tell you, for all of you entrepreneurs out there who are going through the dark night of the soul, it gets better.
Yeah.
It gets better. There is light at the end of the tunnel. And choose joy and laughter as Nicole did and as I did, because that's the entrepreneur's journey is coming to that place where you can share your genius, your talent, your ability, whatever it is that you've got to bring something better into the world. Right? That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So Once again, thank you so much, Nicole. And thank you to my listeners and viewers on the sweet sound of success. What are your dreams for your business? You know what drives me crazy? Really smart business owners denying their talents because they've been taught it has to be hard, because they've been taught that they don't deserve their gifts, that they're not worth anything. They've been taught that their gender means they can't express their genius. I'm Sue Wilhite, and I want you to have access to your genius. I want you to go out and rock the world with your genius. So I created the Call to Action Coaching Program. It's all about getting to the heart of you and what you've got to share with the world to make a profitable business that thrives and allows you to make a difference in the world. Click the link to sign up for the Call to Action Coaching Program today. Don't let your genius go unnoticed.